Hello, everyone, and welcome to our goal planning workshop. You guys, I am so excited for this workshop. I love talking about goals and I love planning for the new year and talking about habits and routines and how we can mix all those together to really not only create the year that we're looking for, but reach higher to our biggest goals in the new year. So whether you are watching this live with us or you are catching the replay, and whether this is new year or this is the middle of October, any year that it will be, I am so glad to have you here. All of these principles apply, and don't worry, because you don't need the new year or a new month or even a Monday to start your biggest goals. So let's dive into today's workshop. You guys, I am so excited for this, and I cannot wait. So, couple of things. First off, it is important to get a big glass of water, to get a notebook, okay, and to get a pen. Now, also, there is a printable for this workshop. And what I'm going to do is everybody who's registered for tonight has the printable already. And what we're going to do is make sure that you have the printable and you can work through the printable as we're going through it. Okay, so go ahead and print that off now if you haven't already. If you don't have a printer, you're like a normal millennial, welcome to the club. But you can also just write down the prompts and do it on any old piece of notebook paper. So you can see my printer right there. It's a little dusty. Shh, don't tell my mother. Okay. All right, guys, let's dive into the goal planning workshop. I want to know, okay, let's see. We're going to do a screen share here. And there we go. Perfect. Hopefully you guys can see my screen. Okay, we'll get this a little bit bigger here. That way you can see it all. There we go. Okay, so what are your goals for 2021? Now, we talk about SMART goals a lot. You've probably heard that said before. We want our goals to be specific. We want them to be measurable. We want them to be attainable, relevant, and time-bound. And what that means, or why that really matters, is that if our goals are not those things, we're less likely to achieve them. So you guys know there's a ton of research all about how to make sure that your goals are actually going to come true or come to fruition. I shouldn't say come true, because it's not like we're wishing them away, right? We're doing the work. We're taking the steps to make those things come true. But the reason I do say come true is because sometimes after we reach a goal, it does feel like, okay, we made it to the next level. We made it to the next cloud, or whatever that looks like for you. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So what are your goals for 2021, or this month, or this week, or it can be any time frame? Now, is that goal specific? Is there a specific outcome that you are looking to achieve? Okay. And we'll talk about examples in a minute. Is it measurable? Now, this is where people get a little bit hung up, because people say, and I'm guilty of doing this myself, I want my house to be cleaner, or I want my whatever. I want to be better with my finances. I want to lose weight. I want to feel good. I want to have energy. I want to stop feeling so anxious and depressed. But how can you measure those things? Now, for some things, you could do it on a scale of 1 to 10. On a scale of 1 to 10, how anxious am I today? I want my 2021 to be, most days, 5 days a week, I want my anxiety level to be less than a 3. Okay, see how we make that measurable? Now, other things, we can put a number to it, right? I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to clean out my closet so that I only have these 5 bins of clothes or of extra stuff or whatever, things like that. It has to be attainable, right? So maybe writing your novel before the end of the week is not really that attainable. But what is something that is attainable? Well, maybe you could write the first chapter by the end of the week. Okay, maybe running a marathon is not attainable, but what is attainable? Maybe you could start by running a mile. Okay, and so on and so forth. So we want to make sure that our goals are attainable. Relevant. That means that we have to care about it. And the reason this is important, and you're thinking, well, I wouldn't make a goal if it wasn't relevant, if I didn't care about it. But let me stop you right there, okay? What happens so often is that we make a goal and it's just like 10% off to the left. It's just who we want to be. I'm not really a runner now, but I want to be a runner. So I'm going to make a goal to run a 5K. Right. And then instead of us going a little bit to the left, we go a little bit to the right. And instead we start lifting weights instead. Okay. So what happens is that as we age, as we mature, as our priorities change throughout the year, sometimes our values change, and that's okay. Sometimes you have goals that just aren't relevant anymore. In 2020, that's what happened a lot. We just had goals that weren't relevant, especially if they were work-related goals, right? Maybe we weren't with the same job. Maybe our goals changed. Maybe the vision of the company changed. Maybe, if my goal was to get a promotion, maybe I got a promotion because other people, whatever, we're moving around positions. Maybe that position isn't there anymore. Maybe it's not important to me anymore. Maybe I didn't want that promotion anymore because I'm now homeschooling my kids. So having relevant goals means that you care about them at that time. Okay. If you don't care about them, I might as well just assign goals, right? You have to run a 5K. You have to keep your house cleaner. You have to be better with your finances. The goals have to be relevant. And that's okay, by the way, if you make a goal and then a month down the road, it's no longer relevant. That is okay. So I just want to keep that in mind. And time bound. You should have a goal as to when you want this to be accomplished by. And there's a little bit of a place for debate here, we'll say. And the reason is because we in doing time-bound goals, we get discouraged if we don't reach it by that time. We get discouraged if things didn't work out, if 2020 happened, if situations arise and we don't hit that goal by that time. That's really discouraging. Right? It takes a hit to our pride. It takes a hit to our confidence level, our motivation, certainly. And so some people, specifically Rachel Hollis, has a huge kind of movement about this, that your goals should be time bound. So you can think a little bit about if you want your goals to be time bound or if you don't. On the first hand, the reason this is in there, these are SMART goals, not SMAR goals, is because if we have a time to shoot for, we have a deadline in essence, and we give that to ourselves. I have to get this done by this date. We're more likely to do it, because if we don't, then we can make all kinds of excuses as to why we're not getting that thing done. So you get to decide, do you want your goals to be time bound or not? You can have loose deadlines, you can have milestones, you can have all sorts of things, but you get to choose, do you want your goals to be time bound or not? If it's some huge audacious goal and your goal is to run a marathon, that has a deadline. You have to register for the race and it has a deadline. If it's some huge audacious goal, like you want to start a side hustle, but you don't get it done in time, you don't want that to stop you from starting the business of your dreams because you didn't get it done at a certain time. So you get to decide what you want that to be. Do you want it time bound or not? I'll let you guys choose. We're all adults here. I won't make you feel bad about it. Okay, what are your goals for 2021? We're going to do 2 to 5 today. And I did a little bit of a poll for my audience to see what their goals were. So we're going to talk about actually what their goals were. And if you guys are here, I guess we won't do the chat because it's not easy for me to pull up and see. But if you guys are here, I want you to write down on that sheet of paper, what are your actual goals? Okay. I will tell you that the goals that I created are there's kind of 2 categories of goals. There's goals that have to do more with maintaining a certain something, And then there's goals that have to do with a multi-step process, okay? And the goal that I set for this year, both of them, the two main ones, are more about maintaining habits and consistency compounding over time to reach that goal versus a multi-step, multifaceted plan to reach a big goal. Okay, so let me give you an example. My goal for 2021 is to keep my house cleaner. Okay, now that's real general. That's more of a habit. That's more of a New Year's resolution. The goal, to make it a SMART goal, is that I want my kitchen countertops to be clean and empty at the end of every day. That includes the dishes in my sink. Okay, so in terms of measurable, it's 0. I want 0 things to be on my countertop. I can see it. It is measurable. Attainable. Is that attainable? It should be, right? I should be able to do that. Is it relevant? Yes, it's relevant. Is it time bound? At the end of every day? Okay, so that's my SMART goal. I want my kitchen countertops and my sink to be empty at the end of every day. That's my goal. Now, some other ones from the Facebook group, and I had this one as well, but I already reached it for the year. Okay, the goal doesn't have to take you the whole year, right? My goal was to get rid of 20% of the things in my closet by the end of the first weekend in January. Okay, so that's the first weekend in January was Saturday was the 2nd and Sunday was the 3rd. So by the end of Sunday night, January the 3rd, I had to get rid of 20% of the things in my closet. Is it attainable? Yes. Is it specific? 20%. Measurable? 20%. Attainable? Yes. Relevant? Yes. Time bound? By the end of January 3rd. So I had to reach that goal. Check that off my list. We got some momentum. We're rocking and rolling. Now, when it comes to organizational goals or keeping things clean or keeping on top of things, and whether you're keeping on top of meal planning, you're keeping on top of keeping your closets clean, your junk drawer, whatever it is, those things help you to build momentum. And let me tell you why. Because we can do one at a time. They are easy and it's a quick win. When we clean out that junk drawer, maybe it only took us 20 minutes, but it's a quick win. And then it's clean and we're doing good. And then we want to do the drawer right underneath it. And then that's clean and that's a quick win. And because the drawer underneath my junk drawer is my drawer that I keep Ziplocs and saran wrap and tinfoil and that sort of thing, it's kind of easy to clean out. So maybe that one only took me 4 minutes. And then the drawer underneath that has my kitchen towels and stuff like that. And that didn't take me very much time either. And then before I know it, like 10% of my kitchen is clean. So I might as well do the cupboard next to that. And that was pretty quick because it's a skinny cupboard. So I just did that. And then the next one is my dishwasher. I just wiped down the front of that. And there we go. A quarter of my kitchen is clean. So when we have those quick wins, when we have those things that build momentum, it helps us to keep going. And that can be really, really powerful. So what are your goals? I want to know. Okay, what are your goals? What are your goals? In the Facebook group, one person's goal was to, hold on, let me pull it up. One person's goal was to clean out all their closets. And this person has lots of kids, so this is going to be a feat. But same thing as the kitchen cleaning out the drawers. Once you start the one kid, then the next kid, then you have one kid who's willing to help you out. So that helps too, right? You start to build momentum and that can be really cool. Those things are specific, they're measurable, they're attainable, they're relevant, and they're time bound. Now, the point of this workshop is not to help you keep your house cleaner. The point of this workshop is to lay out and plan out those big, audacious goals. What are those goals? Some examples of those goals are that there we go. Okay, sorry. Some examples of those goals are things that take multi-steps. Okay, so it's things like you want to start a new business. You want to remodel your house, a room in your house. You want to write a book. You want to lose 20 pounds. Okay, those things take more than one step. It's more than just clean out the junk drawer and then do the drawer next to it. It's more than just keep up with the laundry. It's more than just these simple things, right? Keep your email clean, or keep your email inbox at 0. It's more than the simple things. These things take a lot of planning. They take a lot of time. These are not things that you already accomplished this year, right? Not the cleaning out the closets and things like that. These are big goals, big audacious goals. It's your bag, big audacious goal. Even Porterfield talks about your bag. It's funny to say because bag is a funny word, talking about your bag. But what we're going to do, I want you guys to close your eyes. And I want you to think about what you want your life to look like at the end of 2021. Or if your goal is not year long, what you want it to look like at the end of your goal. What does it look like? What does it feel like? How do you feel? How does it feel when other people say, congratulations? How do you feel internally with your confidence level, with your motivation, with your mental clarity, with your mindfulness? How do you relax after you've reached your goal? How do you reward yourself for reaching that goal? How do you talk about it to other people? How do you post about it on Facebook and Instagram? And most importantly, how does it feel knowing that you reached the milestones that it took to get there? You accomplished them. You smashed it. You crushed it, knocked it off your list. How does that feel? You feel like $1 million? Hopefully so. Okay, backing out just a little bit further here. Go ahead and open your eyes. And I want you to think about what steps did it take to get you there? Okay, what steps did it take to get you there? Now, this sort of framework is outlined in Rachel Hollis's book, Girl, Stop Apologizing. And I promise I'll stop talking about Rachel Hollis. I don't love her as much as I talk about her. Not that there's anything wrong with her, but her goals framework is phenomenal. Okay. And this is not exactly what she teaches. I have definitely taken it and tweaked it and made it my own. But I want you to think about what it took to get there. What did it take to reach your goal? Took a lot of motivation, took a lot of consistency, took a lot of courage, but what actual tangible milestones did it take to get there? Okay, so say for instance, your goal is to run a 5K and you've never done that before. One milestone that it's going to take to get there is to run a mile. One milestone that it's going to take there is to run 2 miles and then 3 miles. But those are pretty much the same things that you just repeat. Okay, so let's make that milestone number 3, because that's the last thing you need to do before you reach that 5K. A 5K is 3.1 miles. So if you can run 1 mile, you can run 2 miles, then you can run that 5K. So we'll make that milestone number 3. If you guys are looking at your sheet right now, this is number 2. So what steps do you need to take in order to get yourself there? So we are looking at this goal and we're reverse engineering a plan. Okay, this is a power framework, this power plan. So the last step is to actually do the thing. And we'll go through some different scenarios because based on what your thing is, your goal is, it's going to be different. But for a 5K, milestone number 3 is to actually run, to get out there and run. Milestone number 2 is maybe to get your eating in order so you have the right fuel to fuel your body. And milestone number 1 is what needs to be true in order for you to accomplish that goal. Milestone 1 is almost always a mindset shift and you proving to yourself you can do it. What needs to be true in order for me to run 5K? I commit to it. I commit to running the 5K. I sign up for the race. So if your goal is to run a 5K, mini milestone 1 is to commit, to sign up. Mini milestone 2 is to start eating healthier and fueling my body with the things that it's going to take to do milestone 3, which is start running. I'm going to run 1 mile. And then from there, I'm just going to multiply until I get that 5K. Now, say for instance, your goal is to lose 20 pounds. That's one of my goals this year. Actually, it's 30. Mini milestone number 3, because we're working backward, we're reverse engineering. And the milestone that I'm just going to continue to do so that it multiplies until I get my number, my 20 pounds, is I'm going to eat healthier every day. And you guys get to decide what this looks like for you. Now, this is not me lecturing you about the importance of diet and the importance of whatever, doing keto, not doing keto, doing Whole30, not doing Whole30, all those things. But milestone number 3 is that you're going to have a nutrition plan, whatever that looks like for you. I'm not going to get into the whole diet thing. I promise. I'll step off my soapbox. 3 is having a nutrition plan. 2, what do I need to do before I get the nutrition plan? Well, I need to maybe do some research. Okay, do some research about what is best for my body, what is best for my health. Do I have any pre-existing conditions? Maybe I need to talk to my doctor. Milestone number 1 is going to be the mindset part. Committing to it and giving yourself a way, a place and a time to be accountable. So maybe you're going to join a group. Maybe you're going to get a coach. Maybe you're going to join a challenge of some sort. Maybe you're going to have jars, right? You have got 2 jars, and every time you lose a pound, you're going to put 1 jar into the other, or 1 pebble into the other jar to signify that you've lost that weight. Maybe you're going to cut chains. Maybe you're going to do something else that's a mindset thing that gives you the momentum and the motivation to keep on going. So if your goal is to lose 20 pounds, number 1, you're going to give yourself a system. Number 2, you're going to do some research. Number 3, you're going to eat healthier, whatever that looks like for you. Now, what if your goal is to write a book or start a podcast? Now, what is the last thing you do before you get that done? We'll say write a book, because I think that one is, because somebody actually had that in the Facebook group. So we'll say, okay, the goal is to write a book. What is the last part of writing the book? Well, advertising, getting an agent, and publishing it. That's the last part, right? That whole kind of process. And you can put a couple things down there. That's okay. You can have more than 3 milestones. So the last part would be advertising. And then before that would be getting an agent. Or before that would be finding a publisher. Before that would be getting an agent. Okay. Now, what do you need to do before you do that? Well, you got to write the thing. Okay. This part is where you just do the same thing and then repeat until the whole book is done. So maybe every single day you're going to write 10 pages. That's pretty audacious. Maybe every single week you're going to write 10 pages. Maybe every single week you're going to write 1 chapter. Okay. So you have something that you need to replicate in order to do the thing, in order to reach that goal weight, in order to write the book, to reach that number of pages, to reach whatever it is. So that's number 2 in this case. And then mini milestone number 1, well, I got to do the research. I got to commit to it. I got to figure out what I'm going to write about and do an outline. So if writing a book is your goal, mini milestone number 1 is commit to it, and then do the research, and then make an outline, and then write chapters, have a certain amount of words or a certain number of pages or chapters that you have to do in a certain amount of time. Replicate that until the book is done. Find an agent, find a publisher, advertise the book. Okay, so do you guys see how you can reverse engineer these goals in order to reach them? You can reverse engineer a plan in order to reach your biggest goals. Does that make sense? Hopefully so. Let's see. Okay, say for instance, there were a lot of ones about home improvement. We talked about closet cleaning and drawer cleaning and that sort of thing. But say for instance, you want to remodel your kitchen, right? I've spent a lot of time in this house and I am sick of it and I want a new kitchen. Okay, that's the goal. I want to have a new kitchen by the end of the year. Is it specific? Yes. Is it measurable? Yes. New, old cabinets out, new cabinets in. Is it attainable? Yes. I've got the money saved. I'm going to do it. Is it relevant? Yes. Very important to me. Is it time bound? By the end of the year. Okay, moving on. Visualize it. That's what we did next. So you visualize, what do you want your kitchen to look like? What do you want the color of the countertops, the cabinets, the floors, the wall color, right? What lighting do you want? What appliances do you want? You know what it looks like. Now, the end goal is new kitchen. What is the last step, mini milestone number 3, before you get to that last kitchen, or before you get to that kitchen? Well, before the kitchen comes, you got to do the work, right? The new stuff's got to go in. And that means that mini milestone number 2 is that the old stuff's got to come out. And that means that mini milestone number 1 is that I make a plan. I meet with an architect. I meet with a kitchen designer. I order the stuff, right? So if the step to get there is the goal is new kitchen by the end of the year. Mini milestone number 2, or no, sorry guys. If my goal is to have a new kitchen by the end of the year, mini milestone number 1 is to meet with a designer and order what I want. Mini milestone number 2 is to rip out the old, and mini milestone number 3 is to put in the new. Okay, so when we reverse engineer our goals, and whether you have 6 different milestones or 2 different milestones, or you just want all the closets in your house to be clean, so you're just going to do one thing and then replicate it, having a plan is key. And let me tell you why. People say all the time, Sarah, I can convince myself out of anything. Why is that? And it's because of a process in our brain called confirmation bias. And what confirmation bias is that when we declare something, our brain does the work to confirm that that thing is true. Okay, so when we declare, I can't do this, our brain does the work to prove that it's true. The reverse is also true. When we declare, I can do this, I can run a 5K, I can write a book, I can start a podcast, I can start a new business, I can remodel my kitchen, I can lose 20 pounds, I can keep my house cleaner, our brain searches for evidence to prove that that's true. And if we have a plan already, if we have those milestones, we visualized it, then our brain gets to work to prove that that's true, that it's coming true, that it's coming to fruition. So if we can use that confirmation bias to our benefit instead of our sabotage, then we will be so much better off. Which is why first you got to declare the goal, then you got to visualize it, then you got to write those milestones, write them down step by step. What do you need to do? And then we'll talk about what's next. First, I want to talk about one more thing. Sometimes we have goals that are feelings, right? I don't want to feel so anxious. I want to feel more in control. I want to feel more relaxed. And those things we can create sort of like a scale for ourselves if that's what we're going for. So is it specific? Well, I want to feel more relaxed. Have you visualized what that looks like? Use some words, use some different phrases to describe what feeling relaxed looks like. Okay, maybe it means that there's no tension in your shoulders. Maybe it means that you are not worried before you go to bed. Maybe it means that you're not constantly writing lists down that you might frantically writing lists down that you might forget. What does that look like? Is it measurable? Here's the kicker, you guys. Things can be measurable even if they're subjective. So it's a feeling, but I can put it on a scale of 1 to 5. I can give it a B, C, D, E grade. I can give it a thumbs up, a medium, or a thumbs down. I can create my own measuring tool for those subjective things or ways we want to feel. Okay, just like the pain scale. You guys know I work a lot with people who have chronic pain. That's a subjective feeling. Being in pain is having a feeling, right? It's subjective. Nobody can look at you and tell you you're in pain. But having that scale gives us a place to go, right? Because our perspective is always changing. Our perspective is constantly on the move, depending on if we're having a good day, a bad day, what's going on in the world right now, what we ate for dinner, did we have a good poop recently, right? Our perspective is always changing. So how can we make that measurable? We can set up our own scale. So maybe you want to feel less depressed. Maybe you want to feel more content. Maybe you want to feel less anxious. Maybe you want to feel relaxed at the end of the day. Maybe you want to have more energy. Maybe you want to feel more in control. Have a scale, 1 to 10, 1 to 5, A, B, C, D, E, whatever that looks like for you, and start to write those things down so that those goals can still be SMART. Now, for the rest of them, is it attainable? Yes. Relevant? Yes. Time bound? Yes. By the end of the month, in the next 2 weeks, by the end of the year, whatever that looks like, by summertime. Okay. So even if your goals are subjective, they can still be SMART goals. Now, the milestones to get you there are going to be a little bit different. Let's take, for instance, I want to be less depressed. I think COVID in general is very depressing. It's very depressing outside. The skies are gray. It's just not a great time to be real happy. So working backward, I want to be less depressed. I want my depression to be no more than a 2 every day of the week, or 5 days a week, or 2 days a week. You get to pick. So that's the goal. Mini milestone number 3. Okay, what do I need to do in order to be less depressed? Well, maybe getting on some sort of medication is an option for you. Maybe it's taking vitamin D. Maybe it's exercising every day. What steps do I need to take in order for that to come true? Okay, so for step number 3, that's going to be meeting with a counselor once a week. Okay, which, by the way, therapy is amazing. Don't knock it till you try it. I love therapy. Depression affects us all. Anxiety affects us all. So mini milestone number 3 is going to be see a counselor or a therapist or a psychiatrist. Mini milestone number 2, because when we're depressed, it's hard to make that phone call, is to make the phone call. Okay. And if you are depressed, if that's something you're really struggling with, or you're struggling with anxiety and making phone calls gives you anxiety, then you need to have that as one of your milestones. Because after you accomplish that, after you get that done, it's going to feel so much better. That is a milestone. That is a step in the right direction. And so it's okay to write that down. Okay. And then mini milestone number 1, that's going to be sort of like the foundation. Well, pretty much I know that the key to feeling less depressed is getting enough vitamin D and exercising every day and eating healthy foods. Okay. So if you want to have no more than a 2 on your depression scale, no more than 5 days a week, mini milestone number 1 is to get healthy, to get enough vitamin D, and to exercise every day. Mini milestone number 2 is to call a counselor, and mini milestone number 3 is to go to counseling. Okay, so even if your goals are subjective in nature, that's okay. This can still work. Does that make sense? If this does not make sense, let me know. You can type it in the chat. And I know that there's a lag So if it's not making sense, type it in the chat. If I don't see it in the chat, or if it's after the fact, if you're watching the replay, send me an email, because I want you guys, I want this to make sense. I want this to stick, and I will email you back. I'll give you feedback for sure. So moving on, part number 3. Consistency. This is where the rubber meets the road. It is all fun and exciting to set your goals and make plans and do all the things and have an awesome plan at the beginning of the year. But usually about the 5th of January, I fail at all my resolutions, and then I say, screw it. It's the winter. It doesn't matter anyway, right? It doesn't matter that I'm overweight. Nobody's coming over. Who cares if my house is a mess? I wasn't going to write that book anyway. I can do it next year. Consistency is the struggle, and it's because our motivation falls off as we lose momentum. Momentum builds motivation, okay? So the reason we have milestones is because it creates a mini win. It gives us that dose of dopamine, that serotonin, helps us feel content and fulfilled and like we did it. We are one step closer. Now, when things get busy, when things get stressful, when things get in the way, when somebody comes over, when you get a phone call, when the world catches on fire, everything goes to the wayside. Everything stops. So what is it that you can do to make yourself more consistent? That's what we're going to talk about. This is where this determines if you will reach those goals or if you will not. Notice I didn't say fail. You are not a failure if you did not reach your goals. You are not a failure if it took longer than you thought. You are not a failure if you fall off the wagon, if you get distracted, if it's not relevant to you anymore. Don't think of yourself as a failure. You're not a failure. Are you learning? Yes. Are you getting better every day? Yes. Are you learning what to do in order to be more consistent, to do it the next time? Yes. You're not a failure. Did you reach the goal? Are you still working on it? Or is it not relevant anymore? And that's okay. Now, consistency. How do we get there? Because there's a lot of things in the middle that are just doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. If you're writing a book, you're just writing and writing and writing and writing and writing for months and months and months. If you are losing weight, you are meal planning and exercising and meal planning and exercising and meal planning and exercising over and over and over and over again. If you are cleaning out closets, you are folding and folding and folding and folding and folding over and over and over again. And when it gets boring, we fall off the bandwagon. Or when we don't know what to do next, we stop. We procrastinate, we self-sabotage, we shoot us in the foot, we take a mozzarella stick break, right? And that's okay. But what happens then is we don't get back to it. So how can you be consistent? Remember how we said motivation builds momentum? Momentum builds motivation. That's a negative feedback loop. What that means is that how can you work on your goal regularly? Maybe you need to work on it every day. Maybe you can't. Like, there's no way that's going to happen. But every Saturday, I could clean out one closet. I cannot write every day. But 3 days a week, my kids go to grandma's. Those are the days that I can write that book. I cannot clean my house on the days that I work late. But all the rest of the days I can. So how can you make a plan to work on your goal regularly? You guys write down what works for you. And if you have multiple goals, remember, because we set 2 to 5 at the beginning. If you have multiple goals, those goals can look different, right? So for me, my goals for the year are to lose 30 pounds and keep my kitchen clean. Can I work on those goals every day? I cannot keep my kitchen clean on the nights that I work late, which is Tuesdays and Thursdays. So the other 5 days though, I can, okay? So I'm gonna plan time the other 5 days a week to clean my kitchen. Keep in mind, it really doesn't take that long, but our brain self-sabotages, right? Does it really take that long to clean my kitchen? Not if I do it every day, right? How long does it really take to clean up from dinner? really not that long. If I put my head down to it and I get at it, it's okay. I had a really interesting gal on the podcast this morning, and she talked about how our brain talks us into it, telling ourselves, this is awful. This is the worst thing ever. Cleaning up closets is the worst. Balancing my checkbook is the worst. Doing, whatever. Writing this book is the worst. Folding laundry, doesn't matter what it is. But in reality, if we take a step back, is it though? Is it really that bad to fold laundry, to clean up the kitchen, to scrub toilets? Is it really that bad? On a scale of like the worst thing you could ever do to the best thing you could ever do, all those tasks are between a 4 and a 6. And if we put our mind to it, put our head to the grindstone, power it out, hammer it out, it really only takes a few minutes. So how can you plan to work on it every day or every week or whatever that time frame looks like for you? So can I exercise every day? Yes. Every day I exercise every single day between 1 and 4 o'clock. It varies a little bit based on my schedule. Can I do that every day? Yes. Since my goal is to lose 30 pounds, that's what I'm going to do every day. That's my milestone 3 that I'm going to do and then repeat until that compound effort gets to 30 pounds. Can I keep my house clean every day? Every day except Tuesdays and Thursdays? Yes, I can. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to plan time in my schedule, in my day, in my week to make sure that happens. Another goal that nobody posted, but I think people get embarrassed to talk about, so we're going to talk about it here, is that you want to save money or get out of debt or get better with your finances or some version of improving your financial situation. So I want to talk about that here because I know we didn't talk about it before, but it comes into play. So what is your goal for 2020? Maybe your goal is something about finances. So say, for instance, you want to get on a budget, get out of debt, and save for an emergency fund. By the way, that's Dave Ramsey's first 3 baby steps. Okay. So is that specific? I want to get out of debt. Yes, I have however much debt. Figure out exactly how much debt you have down to the penny. Is it measurable? Yes, money is measurable. Is it attainable? Heck, yes, it is. Is it relevant? Yes. Is it time bound? Okay. This time bound has to go into our reverse calculation or reverse engineering calculation. Say, for instance, so we'll talk about that in a minute. Now, visualize it. How does it feel to be out of debt? How does it feel to be in control of your money, to live on a budget, to know exactly how much money you have at any given time? That feels awesome. Awesome. Okay. Now, so we visualized it. We know what that feels like. We know what it looks like. We know what it smells like. What are the steps to get us there? Okay. So if you're following Dave Ramsey's steps, we'll just take, for instance, baby step 1 is to save $1,000. So mini milestone number 3, right before we save $1,000, we start saving something. Start saving a certain amount of every paycheck. Whatever we have left over from the paycheck, that's mini milestone number 3. Mini milestone number 2 is to get on a budget. Mini milestone number 1 is to stop spending money and cut up your credit cards. Okay. Some people are cringing right now, and that's okay. But if your goal in 2021 is to get control of your money, Dave Ramsey is amazing. Baby step number 1 is to save $1,000. Now, going back to that time bound. So your goal is to save $1,000. Mini milestone 1 is to cut up your credit cards and stop spending money. Mini milestone number 2 is to get on a budget. Mini milestone number 3 is to save $250 from every paycheck. And I know that I can do that because I'm on a budget. Okay. Now, with that calculation, then we can talk about the time bound. If we can save $250 every paycheck, it'll take 4 paychecks to reach our $1,000. Okay. 4 paychecks times 2 weeks, that's 8 weeks. In 2 months, we will have our $1,000. By the beginning of March, we will have our $1,000. Baby step number 1, check that off your list, baby. Okay, so that's why we waited to talk about it here, because for some of those goals, depending on what they are, you'll have to kind of hold off on the time bound until you reverse engineer it. Okay. Now, moving on to consistency. How can you plan time to work on it every certain amount of time? Every week, every day but Tuesdays and Thursdays, every day, every other weekend when my kids go to their dad's house, whatever that looks like for you. Now, I want you right now, stop what you're doing, get out your phone and open the calendar app. Open the calendar app, and I want you to schedule that time in your calendar. I'll wait. Go ahead and do it. Okay. Some of you are like, what are you talking about? What you're going to do is you're going to open your calendar app. Okay. If you guys don't use a calendar app, if you use a paper calendar, then that's fine too. But when your calendar doesn't reflect your goals, you don't do them, especially when things get busy and stressful. So schedule it in your day. Do that. Do it. New reminder, add the plus button, write in pen every single day what you're doing. Okay. Cook dinner, clean up from dinner. Every Saturday between now and the end of January, clean one closet. Every time I get a paycheck, put $250 in the bank. You have to schedule it. You have to write it down. You have to make sure that when the rubber meets the road and it comes down to it, you will not forget. You will not avoid it. You will not weasel your way out of it. Okay, so get out your calendar, paper and pen, or your app, or whatever you use, and schedule that time in right now. Okay, you can schedule in, you can do plus, add in, clean up kitchen after dinner every single day, and then you can do more, and then omit Tuesdays and Thursdays if those are the nights that you work late or whatever. That way those things are in your calendar. Organization is key to consistency. Okay. All right. I'll give you time to do that. Sound good? Now, how can you create a routine to reflect it? We just talked about that. Okay. The way that I can create a routine to reflect it is that I schedule it in. Every day after I make dinner, I clean up the kitchen. Every 2 weeks after I get paid, I go to the bank and I transfer $250 from my checking account that I get paid in into savings. Okay. How do you create a routine to reflect it? You schedule it in. Now, some things are going to take a new routine. Working out every day takes a new routine. I add it in my calendar every day at 1 o'clock, go to the gym. Work out at home. Get on the bike. Pick up your weights, whatever that looks like for you. It takes a new appointment in your calendar every single day. Also, part of losing weight is grocery shopping and meal planning, and doing so at a time when you're not tired and you're not hungry. So grocery shopping Thursday after work is not a good choice. You guys, it's not a good choice. Okay, so maybe you can grocery shop Monday on your lunch break. Maybe you can grocery shop after you put the kids to bed on Tuesday nights, or Saturday mornings, or Sunday nights. Find the time in your schedule, and don't give me the BS that you don't have time, because I'm calling your bluff right now. We all waste plenty of time. None of those goals that we have talked about take more than 5 hours a week. And I promise you, you're wasting more than 5 hours a week. I promise you. And if you're not, and you do things super efficiently, and you are really, really good at using every minute of your time, and you've got things scheduled and planned, and you don't blow things off, and you're really organized, and you work really hard, then your goal isn't probably to spend 5 hours doing something else, because you're already on top of that. Okay? I told you I'd call your bluff. You're wasting time. Stop wasting time. Stop making excuses. Schedule it in, make it happen. We take as much time as we have. This gal that was on my podcast today that I talked about a minute ago, we take as much time as we have. What she said was that our brain likes to take up time. Okay, because we don't like nothingness. So if we have an hour to do it, we're going to take an hour to do it. If we have 5 hours to do it, we're going to take 5 hours to do it. But if we give ourselves less time, we'll still get it done. Right? If we give ourselves 2 minutes instead of 5, we'll still get it done. If we give ourselves an hour versus an hour and a half, we'll still get it done. So schedule the time, make it happen. Now, habits. We're going to talk about these last two on our worksheet together, okay? How can new habits support it? So a habit, I want you to think about, what are your habits now? Wake up, turn on the coffee pot, do my killer morning routine framework. By the way, if you don't have a killer morning routine, you need to get yourself one. You can go get the free tool on our tools page of our website, micultivatebalance.tools.com/tools. Have habits already set up in your day. Have the time to do them and do it. Now, what habits, or what are those things in our milestones that we were going to do and then just repeat until it gets there? Okay, the working out, that needs to become a new habit. The keeping things clean after dinner, that can be a new habit. Meal prep, that's a new habit. Some of those milestones are a one-time thing. Making the call to the counselor, that's not a habit. But some things to get us to our goals, those were habits. Writing every day is a habit. Making 5 phone calls a day to launch your new business, that's a habit. Making something else happen is a habit. So how can we schedule in, or how can we think about the things that are going to get us closer to those goals into breakable habits? And like I said, some of those aren't going to fit in this box, and that's okay. But then how can we stack those habits, stack the new habits onto old habits? What I mean by that is that it's easier to remember to do things, a new habit, when it's sandwiched on top of an old habit. Sometimes they call it piggybacking. Okay, we all, hopefully, grew up brushing our teeth. So then when it was time to start washing your face when you were a teenager, it was easy to remember to do that because we sandwiched or piggybacked or stacked brushing your teeth with washing your face. Now they go together. They're easy to remember because now we do them together. We stack the new habit on top of the old habit, and it's easier to do. I'll give you another example. Last year, I started doing 1 load of laundry a day. I no longer have to battle laundry mountain. I no longer have to worry about not having clothes. Every single day, I do 1 load of laundry. That's a habit. How did I stack that? Well, I'll tell you how I stack that. Before I go to bed, I put in a load of laundry. And then the next day, when I am eating lunch, I fold that load of laundry. It takes me less than 3 minutes to fold a full load of laundry. Okay. Some of you are like, you must have a small washing machine. No, I don't. I focus. I turn on my favorite song because my favorite song is 30 minutes and 15 seconds long. And then I fold my laundry and I go really fast. And I make sure that I get it done. I stacked the habit of laundry, the new habit, on top of eating lunch, which is sort of a habit. Okay. When we stack habits, when we do those things, when we pair the new thing with the existing thing, we are less likely to forget. It's easier to remember. And for a while, you might have to have a sticky note as a reminder, or have a notification in your phone, or figure out a way to remember it for a while. But after a couple of weeks, it becomes second nature. It's just habit stacking. It's not hard to remember to wash our face because we always do that right after we brush our teeth. Okay, so what are those things that you can habit stack? Some people stack the habit of exercise in the morning after their killer morning routine framework. That's an easy thing to do. You already do the morning routine framework. Now you're going to exercise after it. You stack those two together. It's easier to remember. It's a package deal. It's not difficult to be consistent because you are consistent with the first part. So now you're just adding a little bit of frosting to that cake, that habit cake. Cake sounds good, doesn't it? Okay. So we talked about how to set goals, how to set smart goals, how to create milestones to get us there. Of those milestones, take a look at what milestones need to be planned in or scheduled in every day or every week. How can we create a routine to reflect it? How can we create habits that support it? And how can we create new habits and stack them on top of old habits so that we remember? Consistency is our friend. We want consistency to be our strength in 2021. You can do this, you guys. You can do it. You can do it. Life doesn't get easier. Life doesn't get better unless we make it happen. And we can make it happen. We can do it. We can do it. If you guys have questions, let me know. I know our chat is lagging here. I know our internet connection's a little bit shoddy. I'm going to stop sharing our screen here. There we go. So we can do this. We can reach these goals. We can make 2021 the best year yet. It is possible. It is doable. When you are struggling with your momentum, when you're making excuses, when you know you're spiraling out of control, I want you to think about a time in your past when you have done the thing, when you have achieved a goal, when you have set a new habit, when you have conquered a new thing in your life. And I want you to use that memory, use that feeling to draw on the motivation and the momentum to get going this year. You can do it, you guys. I am so glad to have shared this training with you. I hope that this all just really resonates. I hope this makes the best year yet. I hope it makes sense on how you set goals so that you can actually achieve them. Okay? I hope this makes sense. I hope you guys have such a great night. If you have questions, let me know. We are going to do these workshops. We're going to shoot for one a month, schedule pending. So stay tuned. Not all goals. They'll all be a different topic. All be a different conversation. But I am so excited to have shared this time with you. I hope you guys have a good day. Good luck on your goals. Make consistency your strength in 2021. With that, you can do it.